Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second season of What If Naruto Became a Seal Master and Fell in Love with Hinata? A new fanfic is coming to the channel tomorrow, so stay tuned. Now then, enjoy!
Achoo! I guess it's freezing outside. Naruto kept sneezing all the way home. Besides the constant sneezing, Naruto had a smile on his. He had enjoyed his time in Shikamaru's house. The familiar ambient that was so alien to Naruto had captivated him from the moment they all sat at the table. Once Naruto arrived at his apartment, he saw a small package waiting for him at the door. He looked around to see if someone had dropped it off by accident. He thought he saw a shadow move out of the corner of his eye, but it was desolate when he turned to look in that direction. Shrugging, Naruto opened the package only to find a small lavender-colored book with no title. After studying it for a few seconds, he opened the first page, only to find a barely legible text. The first words of the text seemed to have not been able to withstand the test of time and were no longer there. The only words he could make out were, "Hikari's cooking recipes." He read out loud, "This is just what I needed," he said before looking around the street, opening the door to his apartment and entering. Hinata let out a huge sigh of relief as she hid under the moonlight behind the corner of the street. "He almost saw me," she thought as her heart beat rapidly in her chest. Having overheard Naruto's plight during the academy, she wanted to help him. Unfortunately, she didn't think too much of her cooking skills. Even if she had, she was too shy to do it. Still, she wanted to do something for him as he did for her every day without even knowing. She admired Naruto for his ability to keep a smile on his face despite his situation. She regretted the few times he had been sad and had done nothing to cheer him up. Her admiration for the blonde started to grow as of late. She knew that he had been trying really hard, and no matter how long it took and how many times he failed, he would never give up and continue with his unshaken confidence. So, to help a little, she gave Naruto her mother's old recipe book. It was a plain book with a lavender-colored cover and many recipes that had been part of her childhood. It had pained her to gift the book not because of the recipes. She knew them by memory at this point, but because it was a possession that used to belong to her deceased mother. "I just hope he likes it," she apprehensively thought before she heard Naruto's voice. "This is just what I needed." Having heard Naruto's exclamation, Hinata smiled to herself and left for her home, not dropping that smile for a second. It was a Sunday, and Hinata wasn't quite sure what was happening. Ko had told her that her father required her presence at noon in the courtyard for training. It was weird. She didn't usually train in the courtyard. Regardless, she got ready for training like always and aimed to be on time, not to disappoint her father. When she arrived at the courtyard, Hinata saw that her father wasn't the only person present. Her grandfather and Hanabi were also present, along with a few members of the branch family. With an unsure step, Hinata walked up to her father and gave him a polite bow before walking back to stand next to her little sister. Her father had the same stern expression on his regal face as his eyes shifted from her to Hanabi. Her father's face rarely ever betrayed any emotion, and it was more akin to watching a monument like the faces of the Hokage than talking to a person. "You two will participate in a mock battle today," Hayashi announced without a preamble, causing Hinata's brows to hit the upper parts of her forehead. "I want to measure all the skills you two have gained up until now. Unlike in previous training sessions, you won't be going easy on each other. You will fight with the intent to defeat." Only a few seconds after her father finished speaking, she could hear the murmurs between the members of the branch family break out in unison. This was really out of the norm for her father. He was a man who stuck to tradition and routine, such as clockwork. Very few things varied in his day-to-day life, from how and when he drank his tea to for how long he would spar with her. So, it was really out of the ordinary for her father to do something like this, making her incredibly nervous. Even in the close sparring and training sessions, Hinata could feel the disappointment of her father or grandfather every time she didn't perform something up to their standards, which happened pretty much every time. And now she would have to fight her sister in front of other people, too. Before she knew it, her hands were nervously rubbing against each other, and her legs felt light, too light, in fact. "Hinata!" She heard her name being called by her father's familiar voice, but the tone wasn't his usual one. His voice was uncharacteristically soft. To add to the weirdness of this day, her father walked up to her and grabbed her shoulders in a reassuring way she didn't remember if he had ever done. "Hinata, you are the successor of the Hyuga clan. Show me that you are worthy of that." Hinata gulped. "Hi." As she and Hanabi took her stances, she couldn't help but reflect on the effects her father's words had on her. It was weird, and she couldn't quite find the proper word for the feeling. For once, her stomach twisted up nervously, but the tone in which he had said those words encouraged her and made her feel slightly emboldened. Hayashi stood next to his own father as his sight shifted from Hinata to Hanabi. He really wanted this to go how he hoped. Even if Hinata didn't win, he could still persuade his father for a bit longer as long as Hinata showed the right things. Hinata's skills were satisfactory. Nothing groundbreaking, but they weren't really the cause of his and his father's trepidation about Hinata leading the clan. She was too gentle and soft and lacked confidence, something she couldn't allow herself to be if she would lead the clan. The clan head had to be firm and strong in mind and body. Leadership wasn't a role for those easily influenced and effortlessly forgiving. As the head, Hinata would need to put her love for her family aside and maintain a balance between the main and branch families, just like he had done with Hizashi and Niji. The clan needed a strong leader. Otherwise, sacrifices like Hizashi's would be in vain. Bringing his thoughts back to the present, Hayashi exhaled through his nose, a breath he didn't notice he had been holding. His eyes shifted to each of his daughters the last time he saw them activate their Byakugan. "Hajime!" Hayashi's voice thundered. His voice had hardly stopped from resounding when Hanabi leaped towards her elder sister with feline agility, trying to palm her face with her left hand. Hinata managed to bring her arm up and block the first strike before blocking a new strike to her sternum and weaving away from a chop. Hinata followed her dodge with a palm and a roundhouse kick that Hanabi maneuvered under. They continued to exchange strikes for a few more instances before Hanabi attempted another strike that Hinata to Hinata's chest. But his eldest daughter precisely moved her left forearm to block and used her right palm to strike back at Hanabi, who narrowly avoided taking any damage by jumping back. The fight was going as he expected. Hanabi was being the clear aggressor, while Hinata looked for a window of opportunity to counter her sister's fierce strikes when she overextended herself. Hayashi couldn't complain too much. Both were valid strategies. He just wanted to see Hinata strike with determination when the moment came. However, it was clear that Hinata could afford to be more aggressive. It was fine to have your own approach, but if she so desired, Hinata could physically dominate Hanabi due to having a more developed body. Hanabi charged Hinata again with her characteristic, relentless approach, but Hinata was every bit her match, blocking every strike and countering when an opportunity presented itself. Hinata threw a half-hearted strike, which Hayashi recognized as an invitation for Hanabi to counter quickly. Hanabi parried Hinata's hand and aimed her palm at her abdomen in a deceptively short window of opportunity. Hinata had read her sister's movements in advance and parried Hanabi's attempt easily, causing her to overextend. Finish it. Hayashi thought about that short time frame when Hanabi was at her sister's mercy, but then he saw it almost as if time had slowed down. Hinata could have landed a blow to any number of points that would have ended the fight, but her hand froze and she missed her window. Hanabi quickly composed her guard before meeting one of Hinata's strikes. This time, the youngest of his daughters read the movement, stepped inside Hinata's guard, and landed a flush strike to Hinata's solar plexus. The moment the strike landed, Hayashi knew the fight was over. Even if Hinata could continue fighting, he had seen everything he needed. "Stop!" Hayashi shouted as his father let out a sigh next to him. Hayashi felt disappointed, but more than anything, anger filled his mind. What is wrong with this girl? Hayashi asked himself, although he already knew the answer to the question. In short, Hinata didn't have it. The split-second Hinata had doubted whether to strike Hanabi down or not hadn't been a conscious deliberation. Her body had responded off pure instinct. She was too soft to fight, too soft to lead. Hayashi could acknowledge the reality of things, but he couldn't comprehend them. How could her daughter not understand the opportunity she had been blessed with? So many sacrifices had been made in the family throughout the years for her to throw it away. Without an ounce of sympathy in his step, he walked towards his eldest daughter, who still lay on the ground. "Oh, Tusama." He heard his daughter whisper, and he saw tears forming in the corner of her eyes. The sight only served to increase his ire. How could his daughter be so weak-willed? To fall to Hanabi, who was 5 years your junior, he spoke in a voice full of contempt. "Enough. You may go." With that order, his eldest daughter lifted her body from the ground and left the courtyard between choked sobs. Hinata ran a practiced route toward her room as she furiously wiped her ears from the tears that didn't seem to stop. He did her best to swallow down her emotions for just a few more seconds before reaching the comfort of her room. Without stopping to think, she slid the door of her room open and closed it in one rushed motion. It was then she completely broke down in a chorus of sobs as she slid down onto the floor, feeling utterly defeated. "WWHY?" she asked herself in a pained voice as she remembered the stern look of her father. She really tried, and she really wanted to please her father. To see even the smallest hint of a smile on his face and know she had been the reason for it. She wanted it so bad that her heart broke into a million pieces. She just wished she could be like him. More like Naruto. He always tried his best, even when he didn't succeed, even if he looked clumsy, even if all the classroom laughed. No matter how often he failed, he got back up and tried. He gave everything he had, and lately she had started to notice the subtle signs of improvement. Between the tears and sobs, Hinata managed to choke out a few weak words. "I am happy for Yoyu Naruto-kun. I just wish I see could be more L like you." She didn't know when, but eventually, she managed to lift her body from the floor and crawl onto her bed to hide between her silk sheets, which didn't offer any comfort at all. Chapter 8. Academy Showdown. Hinata sat quietly in the academy classroom. After she finished taking notes, the bell rang, and all the other kids were going out. She wished she hadn't gotten distracted during class and could go to lunch now. She was starving. It had been especially hard to focus today. Her father's disappointed face constantly appeared in her mind. They had officially removed her as the clan heir and named Hanabi the successor. Hinata wasn't upset at Hanabi or affected by the fact that she wouldn't lead the clan. To be honest, the prospect of leading the clan had never enticed her. She just wanted to not be a failure and make her family proud. But there was no clearer sign of how much of a failure she was that her father had resorted to demote her from her status. Hinata had been memorizing the history of the Hyuga clan for years now, and she had never heard anything of the like happening. In short, she was a historical failure. Hinata kept doing her best to rid her mind of thoughts unrelated to what was written down on the board when a sweet and rich scent made its way into her nose. She knew this scent like the back of her hand. It was cinnamon rolls, her favorite thing to eat. The smell was mouth-watering every time she smelled it, even more now that she was hungry and trying to concentrate. "I must be imagining things," Hinata thought miserably as she unconsciously licked her lips. She just wanted to focus on finishing her notes before eating her lunch, which, now that she was craving her favorite meal, would feel incredibly unfulfilling. A new whiff of that tempting smell invaded her nostrils. This time, it was strong enough to shatter her concentration. She looked up from her paper and followed the direction of the smell, only to see Naruto seated next to Shikamaru, with what she knew was the thing causing her to feel extremely hungry. "Come on, Shika. Let's go outside," said Naruto as he poked Shikamaru on the arm, who was resting his head on the table. Shikamaru mumbled something that she didn't catch. Apparently, Naruto hadn't either. "What was that?" Naruto screamed into Shikamaru's ear, waking him up enough. "I said not today, troublesome blonde. I'd rather stay here and sleep." "You always rather just sleep, lazy ass." Shikamaru just nodded, acknowledging Naruto's point. "Oh, come on. Let's go outside and try the cinnamon rolls your mom helped me bake." Naruto shook Shikamaru violently back and forth to no avail. "Screw you then. I'll find someone else to eat them with me." Naruto started scanning the empty classroom until he locked eyes with the only other person in it, herself. Hinata quickly redirected her eyes to her notes as her face heated up. "Yo, Hinata!" Naruto called out, and she unwillingly turned again in the same direction. He had a characteristic bright smile and was enthusiastically waving at her. Her neck was now burning, but she tried to smile and wave back at him. However, she assumed she hadn't succeeded too much because of how weird her lips felt as they moved and how heavy her hand felt. Naruto grinned so hard that his eyes completely closed before he picked up the cinnamon rolls and approached Hinata. Although they weren't friends like he was with Shikamaru and Choji, Irika always put them together in class activities for some reason. In Naruto's opinion, she was timid and a little weird, but he liked her well enough compared to the other girls in his year. Naruto-kun is coming here? She thought as she panicked inside. Hi, Hinata, Naruto said with a brilliant smile as he leaned over her desk. Hello and Naruto-kun. She answered shyly as her blush increased. You see, I made more of this than I wanted. And Choji is sick because of something he ate that had already expired. He threw Shikamaru a look and pointed at him. I would share them with that sloth over there, but he is too lazy to go outside. Want to eat them with me? They are cinnamon rolls. I must be dreaming. Hinata? Hello? Did you hear me? Naruto asked as he inched closer to Hinata. Naruto's voice brought her back from her thoughts, only to realize that Naruto had gotten dangerously close to her face. Any words Hinata wanted to say died in her throat at the close proximity. She could feel her heart thumping in her chest as her mouth dried up. Hinata? What? You don't want them either? Naruto asked after a couple of seconds without a response. He was about to speak again when Hinata's stomach let out an audible rumble. If possible, Hinata became even redder than she had been as Naruto laughed out loud. Come on, Hinata. I know where we can eat them. Not waiting for a response, Naruto grabbed her tiny hand with his own and dragged her out of the classroom. Eep! A smirk formed on Shikamaru's face as Naruto exited the classroom with Hinata in tow. That idiot! Naruto had dragged her to the rooftop of the academy. Hinata doubted they were allowed there at all, but Naruto didn't seem worried. They weren't terrible high up, but they still could get a nice view of the village. So, did you like them? Asked an anxious Naruto after Hinata had tasted the first roll. Liked them? Hinata loved them. Not only for the taste thought, but she had also had better in the taste department, which felt special for some reason. She could recognize the recipe by just smelling it. Her mother had written down the recipe in her cooking book, which she had given Naruto. Just to know that Naruto continued to use the book made her smile. She had been feeling so bad lately that just the familiar taste made her want to cry. They are really good. And Naruto-kun, thank you so much. Naruto let out a sigh of relief. I've been trying new recipes from a book I have, but most of them are too complicated for me to do alone. So I asked Yoshino Oba-chan for some help. They are delicious, commented Hinata. Naruto smiled at her and changed the topic. So, are you ready for the taijutsu exam later today? I hope I get paired with Kiba. I've wanted to kick his ass for some time. How about you? You always win in sparring against all the other girls. Today, they were going to have a sparring session against a classmate, and Irika would evaluate the whole exercise. It would be a significant part of their final grade in the subject. Naruto was jumping with excitement at the prospect of sparring. I don't always win, Hinata answered, but her mind was more focused on her losing to her Hanabi rather than losing to her classmates. I literally don't remember the last time you lost. Hinata did, but it wasn't what Naruto was referring to. Maybe Irika-sensei should let you spar with us. You are pretty strong. I'll bet you could beat most of the guys too. Hinata's eyes widened at Naruto's words before her father's voice rang inside her head. She really hadn't thought about today's examination, with her mind filled with so many other things. But now that Naruto brought it up, she could feel nerves starting to appear. I don't think I'm that strong, she said in a depressed voice. Why would you think that? You are only behind Ino and Sakura in grades, and I would like to see them try to lay a hand on you. Anyone would have to be an idiot to say you aren't strong. He was too kind to her. He would never have told her that if he had seen her lose to her sister in the way that she did. My C-clan thinks I'm weak. The confession left her mouth without really realizing it. Huh? Naruto asked as he lifted an eyebrow. How could they think that about you? Don't they know about your grades? Hinata shook her head since she didn't trust her voice. Hinata didn't remember a single time when he had shown interest in her grades. He was too busy leading the clan. He would have expected her to have the best grades in everything, especially in taijutsu. She was a Hyuga, after all. It was assumed she would be top in her class in taijutsu. Anything short of that was a failure. Even if she showed him her grades, she doubted he would care about the evaluation of the teachers in the academy either way. Why not? If I had your grades, I would never shut up about it, Tabeo. Naruto confessed as he turned around and looked up at the Hokage monument with a soft smile. Hinata felt bad. Here she was, feeling down because of how her family saw her. But Naruto, who didn't have a family at all, simply smiled happily. Through loneliness and hardship, he smiled, while all she could do was break down in tears. She really wished he could be more like him. Hinata wanted to say something but didn't know what words to use. Whoever says you are weak is wrong. You just have to train and work hard to prove they are Tabeo. Like all these people who say I'm an idiot or whatever, he said with his trademark grin as he gestured with his hands. I know they are wrong. I just have to prove it to them, and then everyone will know how great I am. I know you are great, Hinata thought as she closed her eyes. However, she didn't dare voice her opinion, as she wasn't as brave or confident as he. I think you can do it too, she heard suddenly. When she opened her eyes, she saw that Naruto was looking at her with such intense eyes that she believed him, even if only a tiny bit. Hinata looked away as she felt tears starting to pool in her eyes. She did her very best to steady her voice. Thank you, Naruto-kun. Just then, the bell rang, indicating the end of their recesses. Huh? Do we already have to go back? Naruto complained. Man, the time went by quickly. Time had really flown by for Hinata as well. She had really enjoyed talking to Naruto and eating the cinnamon rolls. Her spirits were higher than what they had been previously, and she believed that maybe, just maybe, she could herself. Well, I don't want to get you in trouble, so let's hurry, Naruto said as he again grabbed her by the wrist and dragged her. This time, Hinata's mind was so focused on the moment that she simply smiled as she watched Naruto's back as he ran after him. Later that day, the girls went first in the exam as everyone watched. In Naruto's opinion, there hadn't been any exciting fights yet. In his opinion, the only two fights that stood out were Hinata's against a girl Naruto didn't even know the name of and Sakura's and Ino's match. Hinata's match stood out because she easily defeated her opponent, and Sakura's and Ino's, well, let's just say that some of the insults they threw at each other got rather colorful. Naruto was practically jumping, waiting for his turn after the rest of the boys started their sparring. Shikamaru had accidentally stepped out of the regulated area, and Shino fought a long and rather dull fight against another kid. Please let it be Kiba, he mentally wished as he imagined himself kicking the shit out of Kiba. Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke. Step forward, you two, said Irika. A predatory grin developed on Naruto's face. Even better, that so-called genius is going down, he mentally screamed. G-good L-luck Naruto-kun. He barely heard Hinata's voice among the screams from other girls who were cheering on Sasuke. Naruto turned to give Hinata a smile before walking towards Irika. With a blank face, Sasuke calmly made his way to the center as he ignored all the screams. You are going down, Sasuke, said Naruto. He had stopped calling Sasuke by his name a while ago, and without knowing, Sasuke did exactly what Naruto wanted. You wish, loser. Come on, let's start this, Naruto said with determination. Naruto, wait. You need to make the proper hand sign before you two begin. I've already been over this before. It's the proper etiquette. I don't think he cares too much about etiquette, said Naruto as he nodded toward Sasuke. Was Sasuke's eloquent response. Irika sighed. Just do it already. Both Naruto and Sasuke brought their dominant hands forward as they signaled to each other their intention to fight. Irika's eyes traveled from Sasuke to Naruto. He knew that Naruto had improved, but he didn't like his chances against the Uchiha prodigy. Hajime. Naruto took the initiative as he rushed towards Sasuke with surprising speed and directed a right roundhouse kick at his left side, which Sasuke blocked. Sasuke responded with a right hook, but Naruto caught the punch in time and pulled Sasuke towards him. The Uchiha managed to evade the elbow that Naruto directed his way at the last second, breaking Naruto's hold on his hand and trying to gain some distance. What do you know? You do bleed. Naruto pointed to Sasuke's left eyebrow. A small gash could be seen at the end of Sasuke's eyebrow. It turned out that Naruto had managed to graze hard enough, but the wound was merely superficial. Sasuke brought his hand to his eyebrow and then glared back at Naruto. "That's the only thing you will land on me," he said as he once again fell into his stance. Sasuke was mentally scolding himself. It seemed that he would have to take Naruto seriously. Naruto didn't waste any more words as he initiated an onslaught on Sasuke. Much to his surprise, Sasuke was forced onto his back foot for the next 2 minutes. He could see several windows where he could counter one of Naruto's attacks, but he needed to block a knee, kick, punch, or elbow before he could take advantage of those openings. Although a part of Sasuke was pissed off at being put on the back foot in the fight, another part of him was excited about the challenge. He couldn't remember the last person to have lasted this long against him. Naruto continued his attacks by trying to knee Sasuke in the stomach, but he brought his hands in time to catch it and used Naruto's leg as support to knee Naruto in the mouth. Not expecting the counter, Naruto received a mouthful of Sasuke's knee. After being caught off guard, he jumped backward to gain distance. The taste of iron was present in his mouth, and he spat at the ground, blood coming out. He centered his eyes again on Sasuke, only to find him smirking. "Team!" Naruto started approaching Sasuke again, but Sasuke didn't let him take the initiative this time. Sasuke rushed in this time, and after getting close enough, he aimed a roundhouse kick to the blonde's head. Naruto managed to duck just in time as he felt Sasuke's feet graze his hair and pass without causing damage. Naruto quickly kicked Sasuke's support leg, staggering him for balance. "You are mine now." Though Naruto, as he saw Sasuke briefly struggle for balance, he again started to pressure Sasuke back after snapping his momentum. The off-balance Sasuke was having a harder time completely blocking Naruto's attacks now. None of them landed flush, but his tired arms weren't fast enough to completely block them. Sasuke knew that he was running out of space in the practice circle, and he felt the weight of each of Naruto's blows as he blocked them. His arms felt numb and heavy. If he didn't do anything sooner rather than later, one of Naruto's punches would land flush on him. Sasuke gritted his teeth, and he started to be more offensive and tried to break Naruto's momentum. Still, it was as if Sasuke was caught in the middle of a maelstrom. How can this idiot be so good? He used to be a loser a year ago. His ill-performed attempt to regain control of the exchange earned him a hook to his ribs that made him wince in pain, and again he started to be driven backward. Sasuke knew he wouldn't be keeping the pace that much longer, and he had an idea. Sasuke stopped trying to lose ground and let Naruto drive him to the edge of the circle. Naruto saw that Sasuke was about to step out of the fighting area. "Oh no! I'm not winning like this." Naruto threw a right hook with the sole intent of knocking Sasuke out, and a big grin developed on his face as he felt it connect with Sasuke's jaw. Naruto waited to see Sasuke fall unconscious when suddenly his vision turned upside down, and he suddenly felt his back crash onto the floor painfully. It worked, was Sasuke's thought as he tried to remain standing on his wobbly legs while heaving violently. Although he had rolled with the punch, his jaw hurt like a bitch, and his legs felt like noodles struggling to keep upright. Naruto looked at the blue sky for a couple of seconds as the pain set in. It took him an extra few seconds to process what had happened. Sasuke had rolled with the punch and used Naruto's momentum to hip throw him out of the regulated area and onto the floor. Irika was in shock due to how Naruto performed and how Sasuke won. It took him a moment before he remembered to announce the winner. "Uchiha Sasuke wins," Irika announced. "Sasuke-kun, you are so great, Sasuke-kun." Of course, he won. Almost all the girls started praising Sasuke, but for his part, the last Uchiha was brooding as he glared at the ground. "I almost lost." His eyes then turned to Naruto, who had punched the ground in frustration. "He used to be a complete loser, but now he is giving me a fight." Sasuke's fist tightened. "What have I been doing all this time? For him to catch up to me in a year, I need to train harder. Fuck! How could I lose? I was so close to knocking that asshole off the pedestal. Damn it. Stupid out-of-bounds rule. Now make the unison sign," ordered Irika. Naruto and Sasuke looked like they would rather continue beating each other than make a peace sign, but they begrudgingly did it. "Sasuke, go to the infirmary and check your eyebrow out." "I'm fine. I told you to go. I didn't ask you," Irika said pointedly. After Sasuke left, Irika paused to examine Naruto for injuries. He found no visible injuries, so this time, he asked, "Do you need to go to the infirmary, Naruto?" As if I was kicking his ass. He only won because of the stupid out-of-bounds rule to Bayo. Naruto, it isn't a stupid rule. A shinobi must always be aware of their surroundings. On a battlefield, they must attempt to use the battlefield to their advantage whenever possible. Sasuke's victory wasn't a technicality. Out there on the field, you could have been thrown off a cliff instead of going out of bounds, said Iruka in a lecturing tone. TCH. Naruto deep down knew that Iruka was right, but his temper was running too hot for him to acknowledge that fact. Naruto went and sat down next to Shikamaru. Shikamaru knew better than to say something right now. His friend was simply too angry to listen at this moment, so he remained silent for now. Naruto waited for the rest of the fights to be done so Iruka would dismiss him for the day. He wanted to get out of there and let out his frustration at his usual training spot. All the while, Hinata had a worried face as she looked toward Naruto. It didn't sit well with her when Naruto wasn't his usual bright self. Typically, Hinata would have just remained at a distance, but the interactions from lunch had filled her with enough bravery to overcome her shyness. "I'll talk to him after class ends, I promise." Hinata mentally promised herself to do it. After class was dismissed, she was about to approach Naruto, but Iruka did it first. Iruka approached Naruto, not really having a plan on what to say. Still, he wanted to offer the blonde some comfort before relaying another message. "Naruto, are you okay?" said Iruka as he caught up with Naruto and left the academy. "I'm fine, Iruka-sensei. It's just, I'm mad at myself. I had him and I lost." Iruka smiled at how far along Naruto had come since a year ago. "I got a message from the Hokage's office. Hokage-sama wants to talk to you. How about after you go there, we go get some ramen?" "Sound good," Iruka offered. "What the fuck does that liar want now?" Naruto mentally groaned at the prospect of having to see the Hokage before he answered Iruka. "I'm not really in the mood for ramen, but maybe another time, Iruka-sensei," he said a little harshly. Having to go see the Hokage didn't help to improve his mood. "Naruto, you don't have to be so mad at yourself. You did great today, you got top marks in taijutsu, and Sasuke is a genius. You show dash. And what gives if he is a genius? Does that mean I can never beat him or surpass him? Just like I won't ever be able to surpass the Yondaime," screamed Naruto before taking off. "Naruto, wait. I didn't mean it like that," said Iruka as he saw the blonde leave for the Hokage tower. Iruka just pinched his nose and let out a sigh before turning back. To his surprise, as soon as he turned, he locked eyes with one of his students, Hyuga Hinata. "I would wait to talk to him if I were you. He isn't in a good mood at the moment." Hinata reddened at how Iruka had seen her intention of talking to Naruto and just nodded demurely. Hiruzen sighed as Naruto left his office, as he let his age show a bit. He had called the blonde to talk about the latest wave of pranks that had hit the village, which he had absolutely refused to take the blame for. To Hiruzen, Naruto's antics were always amusing. Still, his stunts had gotten out of hand in the past several months. They were no longer the inoffensive pranks of a child seeking attention. These pranks seemed more motivated and elaborated and caused more problems for everyone than they had done in the past. Also, Naruto hadn't been caught doing any of them, but the whole village knew he was the one behind them. I hoped that once the academy started, the pranks would stop, but they didn't. The only effect it caused was that they happened with less regularity than over the break, but they still happened, and they suddenly increased again for Naruto's birthday. He had consulted with Iruka about Naruto's behavior in class, and other than a few incidents that were normal for a hyperactive child, Iruka had no real complaints about Naruto's behavior inside the classroom. In fact, he seemed to be more than happy with Naruto's progress in the academy. Besides pranking during the break, Naruto had trained and even studied diligently. He sharpened his skills in taijutsu to the point that he was near the top of the class in that aspect. In ninjutsu, Iruka had reported that although Naruto couldn't perform a proper bunshin, but his kawarimi and henge were some of the best in his class. Iruka had gone a little red when he praised Naruto's henge. It is evident that he no longer pranks only for attention. If it was the case, he wouldn't go to the lengths he goes to avoid getting caught. I think he is doing it more to get back at the villagers than to get attention or entertain himself. That was a thought that deeply worried Hiruzen. Hiruzen couldn't say whether Naruto did it consciously or not, but it was easy to see that Naruto's animosity towards the villagers had been growing. Someone less clever than Hiruzen might have dismissed it, but he knew better than to do that. It really made Hiruzen worry, and the icy blue eyes he had met just a few minutes ago didn't encourage him in the slightest. Had Naruto been antagonistic? Not precisely. He seemed in a bad mood, but when asked, he said he had lost a sparring session at the academy. Although Hiruzen had accepted that, he still felt that there was something else for him to be in such a foul mood. His usual brightness and carefree attitude toward me no longer exist, Hiruzen mentally pointed out with a frown. Naruto's attitude was far from formal, yet it still was more respectful than how he addressed him in the past. He merely called him by his title with no honorific. A leader of the stature of the Sandaime Hokage wouldn't have batted an eye at that treatment, but this was Naruto. As a child, he had always had a relationship that went deeper than just leader to subordinate. But now, Naruto's eyes showed no sign of the warmth and affection he had become familiar with. It pained him to hear and see Naruto treat him as if he was just a village leader. The poor attempt at being formal felt like a kunai to his heart. Hiruzen truly cared for Naruto and wanted to have a genuinely good relationship with him, not just because he was Konoha's Jinchuriki. The Jinchuriki and Kage of a village often had close relationships to further ensure the Jinchuriki's loyalty and give the Kage more might. The Yondaime Reikage and one of their Jinchuriki are adoptive brothers. Inoki has been friends with one of their Jinchuriki for ages. In Kiri, their Jinchuriki is also their Kage, and in Suna, the Kazekage made his son the Ichibi Jinchuriki. They probably have a relationship just like. He turned his head to look at a picture of Minato. I'm sorry, Minato and Kushina. I have failed you. The peace and tranquility you usually expect in the middle of the forest were currently being disturbed by the loud sounds of grunting and extremities hitting wood. Naruto was taking his anger out on the log, on which he usually practiced his taijutsu. He was no longer practicing the taijutsu taught in the academy. Instead, he practiced the style he had seen in his mother's scroll and the one he had used today at the academy. The Uzuken was a style that focused on wearing down your opponent by going on the offensive and using your knees, elbows, feet, shoulders, and hands to deliver debilitating blows from multiple angles. The style used the Uzumaki clan's endurance to wear down the opponent until they could capitalize on an opening and end the fight. A master of this style became lethal with every part of his body. It shared similarities with the Goken, but the Goken tended to be more precise and focused on delivering a one-punch KO. Both styles required extreme conditioning and physical strength, but the Goken always aimed to finish the fight as early as possible. Stupid Uchiha, stupid old man, and stupid geniuses, thought Naruto as he continued to roundhouse kick the log in front of him, trying to remove the frustration from his body. After finishing training, Naruto was panting with his hands on his knees. Seeing the Hokage after losing to Sasuke that day put him in a foul mood. Each time he saw the Hokage, he was being lied to one more time. Furthermore, he didn't understand what the big deal was with his pranks. He didn't prank anyone who wasn't an asshole to him first, and even then, once his last academy year had started, he didn't prank as often as he did. Stupid old man. Not a word about my parents, my clan, or the Kyuubi. Naruto thought bitterly before sitting down against a tree and pulling out a brown book. The book was an introduction to Fuinjutsu he had bought at a library to learn something without taking the scrolls out of the cabin. A scowl developed as his eyes landed on the name of the author. That simple name made him want to burn the book to a crisp. The author was Jiraiya. He refrained from burning the book simply because it gave Naruto a good learning source aside from his parents' scrolls, since he couldn't carry them everywhere. Besides, there were other books written by him he would prefer to burn. Flashback. A few days after first meeting Yoshino, he remembered that she said Jiraiya had written a few books. He got curious to see what his godfather had been up to all these years and decided to look for the books. So, he went to one of Konoha's shops to see if he could find it. Strangely enough, the old librarian who had received Naruto as a customer was pretty normal. She treated him just like any other customer until he asked for Jiraiya's latest publication. Oh, that was a mistake. He had never been kicked out of a place that fast in his life. The old lady had screamed at the top of her lungs that he was too young to even know what kind of book that was, let alone read it. Naruto was too stunned and confused to do anything at the moment, so after the sun had set, he decided to henge into a version of Iruka to buy the book. Naruto, as Iruka, received a disdainful look from the old lady before she begrudgingly pointed to where he could find the books. The look she gave him made him doubt if his henge had worked properly, but once she pointed the direction, his doubt was cleared. Naruto found the books he sought, but they were nearly sold out. He had just grabbed a red-covered book when a hand tapped him on the shoulder. Naruto froze, not knowing what to do until he heard a voice. "Iruka-san? That's your name, isn't it? I didn't know we shared the same tastes regarding literature." An unknown voice said in a hushed tone. Naruto slowly turned around to see an unfamiliar man. The man had clear skin and sunglasses and wore his Hitai-8 in a bandana that covered his head. To top it off, he wore the regular Chunin outfit minus the flak jacket. Naruto didn't know what to do or say to the man. At least it seemed that his henge was good enough. I. For some reason, the words failed him. He didn't want to say something that would blow his disguise. "You don't have to be ashamed with me, Iruka-san. Those books have a truly engaging plot that depicts the bond between men and women in such a captivating way." The man started to giggle pervertedly as a trickle of blood started coming out of his nose before he regained his composure. "Jiraiya-sama really blessed us with his latest series. I just wish more people would be public with their appreciation. That way, we wouldn't have to hide and buy his books at night." Naruto was at a loss for words. He didn't know what to say to the random man, so he told the truth. "I honestly haven't read them yet. I heard they were good, so I thought of giving them a try. TTB. Naruto had to bite his tongue to avoid his verbal tic from showing. The man seemed to analyze him for a second. "Shit. I blew my cover. If you want to start reading them, I suggest you start with the series' first book. I like the second one better, but the first one is still great," the man said as he pointed to an orange book on another shelf. Naruto wanted to let out a sigh of relief but refrained from doing it yet, so he just nodded and went to grab the orange book titled Ikaika Paradise. "You should pay fast and get out. After all, we have a reputation to uphold." Naruto didn't know what the man meant but agreed with the earlier part of his statement. He waved to the man, went to the counter, and paid for the book as quickly as possible. Naruto breathed a massive sigh of relief as he closed his apartment door. It was so close. I wonder who that man was, he thought before directing his eyes to the orange-colored book with the picture of a man and woman on the cover. He turned it around to read the synopsis of the book. The main character and heroine, both new to love, begin dating, and their eyes gradually open to grown-up love. He read out loud. "What the fuck is this?" Naruto asked himself. Deciding to figure it out, Naruto opened the book and started reading. 5 minutes later, a blushing Naruto threw the book across the room. "What the hell? All this time he has been gone. All he was doing was writing fucking porn. Mission out of the village. My ass. No wonder that old lady kicked me out." Ever since then, Naruto developed a deep-seated hatred for the erotic novel. 2 days later, Iruka and Naruto could be found dining at Ichiraku's. Iruka didn't remember how or when it started, but he decided to treat the blonde to their favorite meal one day. Since then, they have gone together every couple of weeks or so. They laughed and chatted as they shared stories of past pranks. Naruto even confided in him how he did some of his latest pranks. Iruka would laugh and shake his head, though he reminded him to turn it down a notch. As they continued to chat, another man entered the ramen stand. A man both Iruka and Naruto recognize. "It's the closet pervert," he thought as he recognized the bandana and sunglasses. "Hello, Ebisu-san." Iruka greeted the man. "Good evening, Iruka-san." He responded cordially before turning his gaze to Naruto. Even though he couldn't see his eyes, Naruto could still feel the glare behind his sunglasses. Naruto just rolled his eyes and started eating his ramen again. "So, the closet pervert is of those people. Why, I'm not surprised. I would be saying something to this four-eyed pervert, but I don't want to take a client away from OCC-chan." Naruto continued to eat his ramen as the two ninjas established a conversation. "So, tell me, Irika-san, have you enjoyed the book? Irika just stared at Ebisu strangely. What book? You know, the book, he said between giggles. I really don't know what you are talking, Ebisu-san. Feeling the conversation was getting awfully close to dangerous territory, Naruto slurped his remaining ramen in one go before silently waving goodbye to Tucci and Ayam. Ebisu ordered a bowl of ramen and explained how he had met Irika at the library searching for Jiraiya's novel. Irika instantly went a deep shade of red but was too stunned to speak as Ayam glared daggers at him due to having overheard parts of the conversation. He sat in silent shock as Ebisu ate his ramen. He was brought out of his stupor when Ebisu told him good night. He instantly turned to his right, only to find Naruto was long gone. Naruto, oh, the chewing the blonde had gotten at his apartment was legendary. After scolding and reminding him that impersonating a ninja of Konoha was a crime, he asked if Naruto still had the book. Naruto pointed to the trash can, and Irika went and searched for the book. What are you going to do with it? Irika's body instantly became rigid. I'm going to the library and getting a refund. You bought it as me, so I'm getting the refund. Be grateful I'm letting you off easily. Naruto didn't find any fault in his logic. Still, he felt Irika wasn't being honest, but he let it go. He would find a way to confirm his suspicion about his academy teacher. Flashback ends. After resting and reading enough, Naruto put the book away before pulling out a kunai and 4 sets of prayer beads with seals written on them. He put the prayer beads around his ankles and wrists before making a tiger seal. Fuinjutsu, Shurshur Jufuin, 4 limbs waiting seal. Instantly, the prayer beads began glowing white, and all 4 of his extremities felt like they were made out of lead. Moving became a much more strenuous task. With extreme difficulty, he started to swing methodically in the air. He was now practicing the second variation of his dad's style. He had tried the first variation for a couple of weeks, but after a spar with Lee, in which Lee used him like a punching bag, he realized he wasn't nearly fast enough to use that style. So, he decided to focus on the second variation and used a training exercise his father used to increment speed. Shurshur Jufuin had 5 levels, and the beads glowed differently depending on the weight they added to the user. It went from white to blue, green, yellow, and finally red. He hadn't done the seals for the beads, although he seemed to have an affinity for Fuinjutsu. Those were far too complex for his level. Instead, he found the seals on the beads in his father's taijutsu scroll. He felt like he had advanced a decent amount in his Fuinjutsu studies, considering how complex it was supposed to be. He could activate a few seals like the Shurshur Jufuin and make storage scrolls of several, but he couldn't release any seals yet. Naruto realized that releasing or removing seals was one of the biggest pain in the ass as far as Fuinjutsu went. It was far more difficult to break or remove a seal than to make it. In most cases, you needed to study the seal or have previous knowledge of it. Well, you could also overpower the seal, but that was in some regards more difficult and definitely way more dangerous. Naruto was stuck creating explosive tags. He realized that although most people categorized them as a Fuinjutsu, they were wrong, well, at least partially. Minato's scrolls had gone deep into the explanation. The explosive tags fell under the category of jutsu formulas, and the same could be said about the Kuchiyos no Jutsu, summoning jutsu. Jutsu formulas could be considered a branch apart from Fuinjutsu since they lacked the first thing about Fuinjutsu. They didn't seal or restrict anything. It was an understandable confusion since many things overlapped, but the core principle differed. It was a rather obscure and pretty unexplored branch of study in the already dying art of Fuinjutsu. Explosive tags were hard to make, which is why Naruto was stuck there. Naruto continued going through the movements his father's scroll had indicated, with the beads slowing down his movements until the muscles in his arms gave out. Naruto tried to bring his hands together to release the weight that currently restricted his movements but could no longer lift his arms under the weight, and if the feeling of his legs being on fire was a sign, he wouldn't be standing for too much longer. Just as he had thought, his legs failed him, and he unceremoniously fell to the ground with a loud thump. "Shit! I can't move!" He screamed in frustration into the wild, not really hoping for anyone to respond. "And Naruto-kun?" He heard a soft and familiar voice. "Hinata?" He started moving his neck around to catch sight of the lavender-eyed girl. "I swear that I heard Hinata's voice." "He heard me?" Hinata panicked behind a tree. She had been looking for him to talk to him for a while to see if he was doing okay and just found him when he started training. Calm down, Hinata. Take a deep breath and calm yourself. Hinata. Hello? I need you. Hinata blushed at Naruto's choice of words, but she steeled herself. You promised yourself you would talk to him. Just go and help him and try not to stutter, she said to herself before getting out from behind the tree. Hello Naruto-kun. Are you okay? She asked as she played with her fingers. Hinata. I knew I heard your voice. Can you come and help me? Hinata nodded and approached Naruto, who was still lying down. What can I do? Can you bring my hands together? I need to undo a jutsu. Hinata immediately started blushing and sweating. What? He held hands with Naruto just a couple of hours ago. Well, they didn't really hold hands. It was more like Naruto grabbed her and dragged her away. Her taking his hand wasn't anything romantic, but it made her heart feel as if it was going to pump out of her chest. It felt more personal in a way she couldn't quite explain. Naruto studied Hinata's reaction with concern. Hinata, are you feeling sick? Hinata didn't answer as she was concentrating on calming herself down to help Naruto. It's just his hands. It's not like we are going to be holding hands. Just brings his hands together so he can undo whatever jutsu he used. Eep. Hinata let out as she touched Naruto's hands and brought them together. She started to feel faint but refused to lose consciousness. His hands were warm like she had imagined, but what surprised her was how soft and unblemished they were. She had failed to notice a few hours ago. She expected Naruto's hands to be extremely callous due to how much she thought he trained. Hers were for sure, but Naruto's were as soft as they were and didn't have any scar tissue in them. Hinata, can you let go of my hands? I kind of need to make the hand sign, Naruto said sheepishly. Hinata released another strangled noise as she let go of Naruto's hands and embarrassedly closed her eyes. Thanks, Hinata. You are the best, he said before forming the tiger hand sign. Kai! Naruto sat up and stretched his arms and legs after removing the beads. Much better. Thanks, Hinata, you are a lifesaver. I don't know how long I would have been stuck there. He turned to Hinata, who was still blushing with her eyes closed. Naruto put his forehead against Hinata's. Huh? Hinata, you are burning up. Hinata opened her eyes only for them to lock onto Naruto's eye and note the proximity of their faces. That and everything that had happened until that moment was too much for Hinata's enamored brain to handle, and she passed out. Hinata felt a cool breeze on her face and comfortable warmness enveloping the rest of her body as she regained consciousness. She opened her eyes to see that the sky was beginning to show hints of orange, signaling that sunset wasn't that far. Her eyes turned downwards, and she saw her body wrapped in a similar orange. Naruto's jacket was covering her as she lay against a tree. Hinata's eyes quickly scanned for Naruto, but he was nowhere in sight. She stood up and folded the orange jacket with care but was surprised when a small book fell out of it. The Lost Art of Fuinjutsu. Hinata read the title with curiosity after picking up the book. I didn't know Naruto-kun was interested in Fuinjutsu. She had been introduced to art when she was taught to activate the Juinjutsu of the branch family. Although the process of learning how to activate the seal was rather unsavory, she had been curious about Fuinjutsu since then. Curiosity got the better of her as she opened the small book and read its contents. It hadn't been 30 seconds of her reading when Naruto appeared upside down in front of her. Hinata, you're awake. Hinata dropped the book without even noticing as her eyes were again staring straight into Naruto's. His face was also extremely close to hers again. You seem better. You really scared me when you fainted out of nowhere, said Naruto before putting his palm against Hinata's forehead, just to be sure. Hinata's brain restarted the moment she felt Naruto's skin touch her, and she let out a scream before accidentally headbutting Naruto in the face, causing him to fly right into another tree. Funnily enough, although the situation had been similar to the previous one, this time, it was the other party who had ended up unconscious. Naruto-kun. A preoccupied Hinata screamed after seeing Naruto's body hit the tree. Oh no! I'm so stupid. He is going to hate me now, she thought as she tried to wake up Naruto. Naruto slowly recovered consciousness. Ow! Damn it! I thought I had already had it. Did I fall off the stupid tree again? He sat up and turned towards Hinata, expecting an answer. Hinata's worries that she might have caused brain damage to the blonde started to rise. And no, I accidentally headbutt YU, said in a very sad voice as she prepared for Naruto to scream at her. Ah, so that's what happened. Well, at least it means I didn't fall off the stupid tree again. Why you are not mad? Asked Hinata reluctantly, still expecting Naruto to be mad at her. Why would I be mad? I just mastered this stupid chakra control exercise. Look! Naruto jumped and started rushing into a tree. Hinata, by now, was just about to cry because she was sure Naruto had some sort of brain damage. She saw that Naruto was about to run straight into the tree, and she ran to try to stop him. Naruto-kun. Her scream died in her throat as she saw Naruto run along the tree trunk without falling. Naruto came to a stop. See? I told you I got it. Hinata stood in shock and amazement as she saw Naruto define the laws of gravity and stand at a 90-degree angle. Remembering Naruto had said something about chakra control, she went through the hand signs and activated her Byakugan. She saw a thin layer of chakra gathered at the bottom of Naruto's feet. Naruto jumped from the tree and landed next to Hinata. Pretty wow. What happened to your eyes? Naruto said after seeing the bulging veins around her eyes and temple. Hinata instinctively deactivated her dojutsu and covered her eyes. Was that the Byakugan? Asked an excited Naruto, who had yet to read Hinata's discomfort. It's the Hyuga's Kekkei Genkai, just like the adamantine sealing chains from my clan. Oh man, how I wish I could use them. Hinata nodded in confirmation of Naruto's question but kept her face hidden. What's the matter? Why are you covering your eyes? It's just some people say my eyes are ugly. I never understood why people told you that. I always thought that they were pretty, you know? Naruto said casually. Hinata, as usual, went bright red at the compliment. Why you are really think so? Naruto nodded fervently. And your Byakugan makes you look super scary. Hinata's mood instantly dampened. It's like the good kind of scary. Like I wouldn't mess with her kind of scary. You know? Hinata's mood brightened, but there still seemed to be some doubt in her. So, what sort of things can your Byakugan do? Hinata went on to explain the basic capabilities, such as the 360-degree vision it provided and the ability to see chakras and even tenketsu. Could see the amount of chakra you had concentrated on your feet when you were walking on the tree. That's awesome. I wish I could see the proper amount of chakra I need to use every time. My chakra control would be way better, and I wouldn't have to spend a week doing stupid exercises like climbing trees. I bet you could climb a tree by the end of the day. Why you thinks so? Yeah, it isn't that difficult, Naruto said before an idea popped into his mind, and he snapped his fingers. I know. Why don't you try it? Me, yeah, try it. You just have to focus a little chakra at the bottom of your feet. If it's too little, you will slide off the tree. If it's too much, you will be pushed away and the tree will crack like that. Naruto pointed at a tree that seemed to have splinted a little due to Naruto's training. Hinata nodded but still felt unsure that she could do it. But she would try. Don't worry about falling. I swear I'll catch you if you fall. Hinata couldn't avoid imagining the image of Naruto carrying her like a princess appearing in her mind. But seeing how she had accidentally knocked out Naruto just a few minutes ago, she guessed she was more likely to crush him. Hinata tried to ignore either possibility as she exhaled and gathered the amount of chakra she remembered seeing in Naruto's feet, took a deep breath, and slowly started climbing the closest tree. Naruto saw that Hinata had already climbed a good portion of the tree, around 12 feet. I expected her to be better than me at this, but not by that much. It took me days to reach where she is. Way to go, Hinata! Naruto's voice distracted her just enough for the chakra on her feet to change, and she slipped off the tree and fell. Hinata closed her eyes and was prepared to hit the ground hard, but the pain never came. She reluctantly opened her eyes only to see Naruto smiling at her. I told you I would catch you, he said as he held her just like she had imagined. Hinata let herself get lost in the moment, and Naruto's eyes were as blue as the clearest sky. She didn't even notice when he put her down. Try it again. Naruto encouraged her. For the next 2 hours, Hinata tried the tree walking exercise until she got the hang of it. See, I told you would have it done by the end of the day. Naruto told a panting and exhausted Hinata. You got it even faster than I thought you would. I wish I could be as good as you at chakra control. Naruto said in exasperation. I don't think you are that bad at it, Naruto-kun. Naruto appreciated the compliment but knew it wasn't the case. He didn't have the natural feel to know how much chakra to pull and use. Naruto would often gather too much chakra and use too little of it, which caused him to waste chakra and the technique to receive less than needed to work correctly. It's what caused his bunshin to look underfed and sick. But all the training Naruto had gone through wasn't pointless. Whenever he did the bunshin now, he could create 3 copies. According to Irika, 1 would be good, the 2nd would come out barely passable, and the 3rd would look deathly sick. Thanks, Hinata. He said this before an idea popped into his head. Hey, now that I'm done with the last chakra control exercise, I was planning on training on another one. Would you like to help with it? Why you think I could help you? I don't want to slow you down, she said in her regular timid voice as she poked her index finger together. Oh, for sure. You are already better at chakra control than me and have your Byakugan. Besides, we could even train in other things. I used to train with a guy named Lee, but he was 1 year above us, and ever since he graduated, I have only seen him a couple of times. But I had such a good time training with him and improved a lot, so I wanted to train with someone else. I could never convince Shikamaru or Choji, so what do you say? He said excitedly at the prospect of having a training partner again. If you would have me, I would like it, said an excited but still timid Hinata as she poked her fingers together. Awesome! After a few minutes of walking in silence, Naruto remembered a question he had been meaning to ask. Say, Hinata, what were you doing in the forest? No one only ever really comes here. Hinata got extremely flustered. I wanted to see how you were doing after today's sparring? Hinata stammered quickly. Naruto let out a sigh. It's just, I want to see my efforts pay off. And losing against Sasuke stings more than anyone else for whatever reason. You were pretty close to winning. I'm sure you will win next time. That's what bothers me the most, he said as he tightened his fist in frustration. It's always next time I'll get it, but when next time comes around, I mess it up like today. All I do is mess up. He finished dejectedly. Hinata really didn't like seeing Naruto like this and tried to comfort him. It's not like that, she said in a surprisingly loud voice that caused Naruto to look up. Even if you fail, you always get back up and do it with a smile. I think that's what makes you the strongest, she said without stuttering or being shy. Naruto stopped in his tracks and stared at Hinata before a smile appeared on his face. Thank you, Hinata, he said honestly before they continued walking. Chapter 9, Team 7, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Naruto finished his mental countdown and began molding chakra before slowly and subtly releasing it through as much of his tenketsu at the time as he could. He concentrated on feeling anything out of place and suddenly sensed it to his left. At my 8 o'clock, 17 meters out. He memorized before opening his eyes and quickly, but with a quiet step, sprinted his way there. Naruto arrived only to be surrounded by more trees than before. Where are you? He thought as he looked to his right and then his left. Hinata observed Naruto from a tree branch. She was barely 2 meters above him, and she was holding her breath and refusing to move a single muscle as her heart drummed on her chest. I sense something around here. I know it, she heard Naruto complain. After looking around for a few seconds, the blonde groaned and left, causing Hinata to relax. With a huge sigh, Hinata felt her body relax. Her breathing became even, and the drumming in her chest slowed down. Hinata released another shaky breath and wiped a drop of sweat from her forehead. He almost found me, he thought as she continued to relax. Found you? Naruto's voice hammered into her right eardrum as she felt his hand on her shoulder. Eep! The jump scare made Hinata stumble off the branch she was on and fall towards the ground. But with her feline-like agility, she recuperated midair and gracefully landed on her feet. She looked up only to see her favorite blonde laughing mischievously when suddenly she heard another identical laugh. She looked to her right and saw that the laughter came from a clone. He used a bunshin to fool me into thinking he had left and sneaked behind me. A smile appeared on her face. Hinata then looked closer at the clone on the ground with her. She knew that he was the clone since the Naruto in the branch had touched her shoulder, and everyone knew that the regular Bunshin couldn't physically interact with their environment, so that made the Naruto on the ground with her the clone. "We got her, boss!" The Naruto on the tree branches screamed before hopping down and landing next to the other Naruto. To Hinata's surprise, they high-fived each other before the Naruto that hopped off burst into smoke. Hinata was a little confused by the sudden turn of events. Everything she knew appeared backward at the moment, and she paused to analyze what had happened. While she was in deep thought, Naruto approached her. "I finally found you," Naruto said excitedly. A few weeks after Hinata and Naruto started training together, the blonde realized he was a sensor ninja. Like most Uzumakis and his father, thanks to his mother's scroll, the chakra of the people with the innate ability to sense interacted differently with other people's chakra. Theoretically, anyone could push their chakra out of their body in every direction as sensors do, but they wouldn't detect anything. When a sensor's chakra touches another, it reacts differently. An expert sensor was able to detect someone from hundreds of meters away, even if they were suppressing their chakra. If familiar enough with the feedback, they could even identify that person. Although sensing was a helpful ability, it did have its drawbacks. You could only sense when you were actively molding and releasing chakra, which meant that you needed to concentrate on doing so unless you became adept enough to mold and release chakra subconsciously. Still, even if you could, the ability wasn't that helpful in battle. If you were constantly in sensory mode, meaning needing and releasing chakra, the constant release of chakra would tire you faster than you would expect. Right now, Naruto couldn't sense someone hundreds of meters away or someone suppressing his chakra. Still, he felt he was becoming slightly familiar with Hinata's chakra signature to recognize her. At the moment, Naruto could only sense within a 25 meters radius, but he had been training with Hinata to improve it. They were basically playing hide and seek for hours upon hours. In their early years, neither Naruto nor Hinata played much of the traditional games kids usually played. Naruto, because of his Jinchuriki status, and most parents are telling their kids to stay away from him. As for Hinata, well, when she was the heiress, she had certain behavior expectations she had to meet, but even then, her meek and shy personality got in the way. Needless to say, both were having lots of fun with an experience they should have been already familiar with. Naruto had trouble finding Hinata most of the time and had an easy time catching her, but it was the other way around for Hinata. She could see Naruto but had problems reaching him. Regardless of the fun, it was also good training. Naruto could work on his sensory abilities and Hinata in her stealth. However, Hinata was already pretty stealthy on her own, and she had to work on her speed and stamina while chasing the blonde. "Was that the jutsu you said you wanted to show me, Naruto-kun?" Hinata asked. Naruto nodded excitedly. "Yes, it's called Kage Bunshin. They aren't completely useless like the regular Bunshin. Look." Naruto made a cross sign with his hand, and a perfect replica of him appeared next to him in a burst of smoke. "They are solid, so I can use them to fight." The clone approached Hinata and threw her arm around her in a one-arm hug, causing Hinata to blush. "They are really cool," said Hinata meekly after the clone backed away. "I know, right? But I want to try something. Can you turn on your Byakugan when I tell you?" Hinata gave him a slight nod. To her confusion, Naruto and his clone jumped away and hid. A little noise, and a few seconds later, 10 copies of Naruto stepped back into her view. "Use your Byakugan now." Hinata did, and she was surprised to see that every Naruto had its own chakra pathway and equal amounts of chakra. "Can you tell who is the real me?" Hinata developed a bit of a frown as she analyzed each clone with the help of her visual prowess. Eventually, it became clear that she couldn't tell them apart, and she shook her head. "You are all perfect C copies of Naruto-kun. I can't even tell you apart with my Byakugan," she said, impressed. All the blondes celebrated before they all puffed out of existence until one remained. Naruto was about to tell her about the memory transfer, but before he could speak, Hinata asked a question. "Ano, where did you learn that jutsu?" Hinata asked meekly as her index fingers were pressed together. She had been curious for a while about where Naruto learned every training exercise they had been doing together and how he could teach her the basics of Fuinjutsu. Naruto froze at the question and panicked slightly. "Shit, me and my big mouth. Well, I can tell her about Kachan's scroll without having to brush on the subject of the QB, but it still feels too private, I guess. He thought before deciding on an option. I saw a Jonin training a few days ago, and he made the jutsu and I tried to replicate it. He lied. Hinata didn't even think much about whether Naruto's words made any logic because she didn't have to. It was all in his eyes. It was clear that it was a lie. Her Byakugan deactivated, and her sight turned to the ground. It pained her that Naruto wasn't being honest with her. I guess it's not my business. I should be thankful for letting me train with him. She thought, depressed. Now Naruto still had a few problems, well, more than a few problems reading social cues, but he was getting better at it. He could clearly see that Hinata hadn't bought his poor excuse for an explanation and felt hurt about being lied to. Instantly, Naruto felt terrible. Look, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have lied to you. The truth is that I can't tell you where I learned this or most of what we train on. But I will eventually. Just I can't at the moment, sorry. Hinata lifted her view from the ground and gave a smile that didn't reflect in her eyes. Naruto thought for a moment before an idea popped into his head. How about I make it up to you? Why you don't need T2 Naruto-kun? I shouldn't have asked why you. It's not my business. She said with a heavy stutter and a meek voice. No, I shouldn't have lied to you, Hinata. He said before he got closer to Hinata and whispered. I want to take you somewhere special. Hinata instantly felt her face become hot, and her heartbeat increased suddenly as her imagination ran wild for a second. Can you keep it a secret, though? It's a special place for me, and I'm the only one who knows it exists, he explained. Hinata's symptoms lessened, but her heart still pounded way too rapidly. She gave him a small smile. I promise. I won't ever tell anyone about it. Naruto looked her in the eyes for a couple of seconds, causing Hinata to blush. But even then, she met his gaze. The blonde nodded in satisfaction, and a grin spread on his face. Great. Come. Follow me, he said, although he didn't give Hinata much choice as he grabbed her hand and dragged her with him. Hinata could only register that they were getting deeper into the woods as Naruto dragged her at an incredible speed. After a minute, Naruto seemed to slow down. Her ears registered the sound of rippling water, and she saw they were approaching a small clearing. Wow, Hinata said aloud as she entered a small, beautiful clearing surrounded by tall, thick forest trees. The sound her ears had picked up turned out to be a precious waterfall with crystalline water that fell into a small pond. Hinata noted that even the air she breathed seemed different and purer than in any part of the forest. I know, Naruto said happily. Hinata meant to say the place was stunning, but it didn't sit right with her. It was simply more than that. I found this place more than a year ago. I come here every other day to relax and spend time. I actually study here most of the time, Naruto explained. His eyes briefly turned to the small cabin his parents had built to see if Hinata could see it, but at the moment, she didn't seem to acknowledge its existence, so he assumed that the cabin seal was doing its work. Hinata finally found the words to describe the place. I have never seen a more beautiful place, she said in an odd tone. She now understood why Naruto wanted to keep this place private. Naruto sat near the pond's shore and tapped the ground next to him, signaling Hinata to sit beside him, which she did with a slight blush. I'm so ready to graduate. Just one more week, and we are out. And since I finally got the stupid bunshin down, I'll definitely graduate, said Naruto. A timid but a bit more comfortable Hinata responded. Hi, you worked really hard, Naruto-kun. Your chakra control has improved a lot. Naruto took in Hinata's words as his gaze fell on the pond, and a grin developed on his face. He hadn't tried the water walking exercise since he wanted to do it with Hinata, and there wasn't any other water source near their training ground, so he put it off. But now that Hinata was here, there wasn't any reason not to try it. Speaking of chakra control, Naruto stood up and approached the pond before quickly reviewing what he remembered about the water walking exercise. He stepped into the shallow water, managed to stand on it, and made a few shaky steps before sinking into the ankle-high water. Hinata understood what Naruto had done. She activated her Byakugan in the middle of Naruto's first attempt and stood up to try it. Hinata instantly managed to stand on the water and take a few steps. A few steps in, she started to lose her balance, and she started to flail her arms, trying to regain her balance. Naruto was trying to walk again when he heard Hinata approach the water and saw her take her first steps, suddenly struggling for balance. He didn't know why, but he found it funny and let out a few chuckles. Hinata heard Naruto laugh slightly, and as soon as she turned her eyes to look at him, she saw him falling on his back with a big splash. She instantly started giggling at how Karma had made himself present. "Oi! Don't laugh!" Naruto shouted as he splashed water on Hinata, making her giggle harder. "Hey! I say don't laugh!" he said as he shakily stood up and tried to pursue Hinata to get back at her. Naruto didn't know how long he chased Hinata around the pond, but when they stopped, he saw that he could walk on water without any problems.